Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Thank you all the members, all the patrons. Make sure to subscribe. We are trying to hit 50,000 subscribers until the end of the year. Help me out there, and let's go guys. So I wanted to talk a little bit about radars, specifically about pulse Doppler radars, because I actually ran out into a Vimpo R27 post on the forum, and there they have some pages of the manuals of the MiG-29. And I noticed something that they talk about that we currently don't have in game, which I think was a very weird thing. First of all, let's talk about this first image that basically mentions the angles that the radar would be blind due to the pulse Doppler and the Doppler effect, right? And the way that everything works in a radar that it's pulse Doppler. And it talks about how it is basically 40 degrees of blind spots, which, I mean, just feels a lot. Something that wasn't considered here is that this angle can be higher or lower. I don't know if you know, but obviously, if you know, a pulse Doppler radar uses the Doppler effect to actually see what it is standing still and what is moving, and with that it can actually basically filter out everything else and look only at aircraft, because aircraft normally are flying in high speeds, right? So they're not standing still. The thing is that due to the way that it filters it's basically filtering out everything that it's standing still compared to your radar. Basically means that if you fly perpendicular to it, the radar cannot maintain a lock. And this is implemented in the game. It's a real life thing, and it is a problem that we have to deal with. But there is a catch here. This angle, this speed that the targets are in a fixed position, that they cannot be seen, it's not fixed, This angle can actually change depending on speed, depending on distance, and many other factors. But the two main factors is distance and speed. The faster you go with your aircraft, the higher that speed should be, at least in early, pulse Doppler radars. I don't know if this is just overall for every radar, but you can feel that in the F4s that, for example, or any radar that has the pulse Doppler velocity filter on it, because if you increase the velocity, you will see that the blind speeds there increase. So it's something that these radars have a problem dealing with it, right? Another thing that this one, I think it's not implemented yet, and it should be if it's not, which is the distance. I never noticed that in any manual or anything like that, but according to this page from the manual of the MiG-29, it basically states that depending on the distance that you are, it is easier to notch a radar or harder. So he gives an example of, for example, having a blind speed of 50 kilometers per hour until 15 kilometers, and above that it is 150 kilometers per hour, right? And I think I saw somewhere that it might be even more, according to like some other manual or something like that. It might even be more than that, like 250 kilometers per hour, depending on the distance, if it's very, very long distances, right? But still, that's the thing. What can you say about this? It needs a closure rate of at least 50 kilometers per hour to you to actually detect it at 15 kilometers or less, or 150 kilometers beyond 15 kilometers. So what it means is that the closer you are, the harder it is to notch. You have to actually notch harder, make your speed actually be less visible to the respective aircraft that is trying to lock on you. And even it's stated on the same place there that locks from below 10 kilometers normally are never they're basically unnotchable. So we have a problem here, because as you see on the screen right now, I was testing with a friend, it doesn't matter the distance that we are, it feels like in War Thunder, the speed, the closure rate that you need to be, or the speed that you need to actually be to actually detect the target, or not that you need to be, but the target needs to be compared to you, relatively to you, needs to be a certain speed that it's always the same and it doesn't change no matter the distance that you are. It does feel like that. I don't know if it's just that it might be that it is there, but it's not really feelable. Maybe it's something like that. I'm not the most, the best data miner ever, or not even a data miner. I mean, I have no idea in looking into I even have the CDK, but I barely have an idea what I'm doing there. So I cannot know for sure this, but as far as I can tell, we don't have that. What does this mean? It means that the closer you are, it should be to the target, it should be harder to notch a target. And it should be basically a lot harder for the defensive aircraft to actually avoid a missile. So it should be easier for you to hit a target. And yeah, it should be added. I think it's just a major flaw if it's not added, in the game, in the physics of the game. And even another problem that you see on the F-16 specifically, you see a lot of that, but you will see that in many other raiders as well. And the MiG-29 has problems with that. Any raider has these problems because apparently the distance doesn't make sense. But if you are even in a dogfight, so you will be 1 to 2 kilometers for the target, if the target actually goes perpendicular to you and the closure rate is basically less than a certain speed that it is coded in the game, it will notch your radar, so you cannot actually use the gun lead properly, because you are losing lock and reacquiring lock and losing lock. Something that if you see, for example, DCS, you don't have that. Why? Because I think, that's my opinion, I think that's a thing in the physics of the game there, and it's not here. So it's just a major thing that it needs to be addressed, and I think it was just an overall thing that, I mean, it might be nothing too crazy, but it is a realistic thing that makes the game very unpredictable when you are in a dogfight. I mean, you are trying to use the gun and it's just losing lock and gaining lock, and it's kind of weird and stuff. And also, I mean, a missile fired from less than 15 kilometers should be harder to evade than to notch. Not to evade itself, but to notch, right? It should be a lot harder to notch from those distances, I think. It would be a lot more realistic according to these Russian MiG-29 manuals, and it would just make the game better, I think. It's something that might be even more useful in the future once we have more advanced missiles and stuff, that these things will actually matter a little bit more even, because it will be harder and harder to notch radars the more we go into the future, right? So we kind of have it, the initial modern age of radars still on the steps, on its steps, first steps, right? So we just have the first 80s missiles and 1 or 2 late 80s missiles. So we are getting there, but the more we go to the future, the more these needs to be addressed, because we are going to need a more realistic gaming. Overall, I just think it's a good idea, right? But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about these. If it was too complicated to, understand, make sure to check my radars and PVRs and guides and stuff. It might help you, because it is a very complex subject. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. See you.